All right, here we go. Salute to NBA Nation on this Monday afternoon, man. The NBA report is back. CP the franchise, Alex Taros on the ones and twos. On today's episode, we're going to recap the weekend that was around the league, man. CP3 coming off the bench. Joel Embiid, was he resting? Was he not? The load management policy, we're going to talk about that. Lakers lose to the Kings in an overtime thriller. Lots of news to talk about. Plus, the in-season tournament just got a little bit spicier, man. So let's talk about it. Lock in, hit that like button, hit that share button, and subscribe to the channel. The NBA report, man. CP the franchise. Alex Taros on the ones and twos. Let's go. All right, how are we feeling today, man? How you doing, bro?
Feeling good, man. Get to talk basketball, get to cover the league at large. Always love doing this, chopping it up with you. I'm ready just to get into it, man. How you doing, though?
Yeah, doing all right, man. Doing all right. Likewise, I thought it was a good weekend, an interesting weekend of hoops for sure. And some interesting news that came across the wires today, man. So let's definitely get into it. Let's start with Warriors at Rockets, man. And the big news in this one was, number one, the return of Draymond Green. Draymond Green coming back from an ankle injury. And that prompted Steve Kerr to move CP3 to the bench. Since 1982, Al, no player had appeared in more games and started in all of them than CP3 entering Sunday, including the playoffs. He started the first 1,365 games of his NBA career. So the streak is over. And how did he react? Looked pretty much the same. 8.7 assists off the bench in 27 minutes for CP3. I thought he looked really good, especially running with that second unit. Got a chance to mix and match into some lineups. He played with Steph, he played with Clay, and then got to close with those guys down the stretch to wrap that game up. I thought this was a pretty interesting game. You know, Golden State had a pretty sizable lead, up by at least 16 points, but Rockets started chipping away, man. Jalen Green has been a blur out there. Alperen Sengun chipped in as well. And, Warriors ended up taking a 1-point lead at one point in the fourth quarter. And then in crunch time, it was a chef time. Steph Curry absolutely torching the Rockets and won the villain himself. Mr. Supervillain Dylan Brooks caught the wrath of the chef. You know, the chef don't forget. Nope. You know what I'm saying? He might not talk too much. He lets this on the court play do the talking, but he let Dylan Brooks feel the wrath, and Golden State ends up going away with this, man. 106-95. What you think about the game and CP3 off the bench for the Dubs, man?
I thought it's the right decision to have Chris Paul off the bench. We'll start off there first, just because him in the lineup, and we talked about on our last show, him in the lineup with Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, that's too many guards, especially when you have someone like Steph who needs a lot of touches, right? And right next to Klay Thompson, you just see both of them shooting efficiently, especially Klay. We'll have a conversation about Klay maybe, but you know, when you got to allow these guys to get off their shots, and Chris Paul, since he's the type of guard that likes to pound the rock, right, and distribute, be that traditional point guard, doesn't make sense for this type of lineup with guys like Klay and Steph who are constantly flying around and need more free-flowing movement. I like Chris Paul with that bench, specifically for Kuminga and Moody, because those guys, it's been tough for them to really get integrated into that Warrior system just because the Warriors are so focused on maintaining that dynasty, whereas they're not really focusing on the youth development, right? And we saw what Chris Paul did out in OKC. I think you can get that at least with these guys to get them more integrated into this Warriors system. So I like that move. Also, Chris Paul is like Derrick Rose for the Knicks. He can just feast on second units because he still is Chris Paul. He may not be, in his heyday, right? That same guy, but still against second units, he's still a top tier player. And like I said, he can help the young guys facilitate. But what were your thoughts on Chris Paul going to the bench?
It's the most logical move. I mean, all the talk about it when he first got to that team, I just thought it was just a lot to do with nothing. Yes, it is CP3. Yes, it is political, and he deserves his respect. But look, this is an aging player heading into the twilight of his career. Even though he can still play at a high level, as we're seeing so far with the Dubs. I mean, he is CP3. This is a legendary player that we're talking about here. But it just makes sense on three different levels. Number one, you balance the offense, you balance your roster out, especially having them run with that second unit. You get Kuminga going, you get Moody going, you have Gary Payton Jr., you have Dario Saric. I think that's a nice unit with CP3 manning the helm. You can switch your pace up a little bit so that he's not, kind of out of place, not necessarily out of place, but with Steph, with Clay, with Draymond out there, it's a vastly different offense than what CP3 is used to. So you balance the offense that way. You limit his minutes. He's an older player. We're going to talk about the load management situation and what it's been for the NBA just in the first week, but you limit his minutes a little bit. And last night, it was 27 minutes a game. He still got to finish the game, and that's what you want to ask for. But you want to also make sure that he can get you there in April, in May, and hopefully for this team, June, this team that has championship aspirations. And then the last point, as I said, he still got to close. So I think it's the minutes per game that's really the difference, rather than whether is he starting, is he not. For me, I think they need more size out there. They're already going to struggle rebounding. You keep the big three, their continuity, their chemistry together. Didn't make sense putting your best wing defender and Andrew Wiggins on the bench. And it doesn't make sense to put Clay on the bench either. And so this was the most likely. It makes the most sense for them going forward. And then you can still situate your rotations, your lineups based on how the game dictates, and everybody should be happy. So I thought that was a good thing. You also had Klay Thompson in this game, surpassing our guy, friend of the program, Jamal Crawford, for 10 on the NBA's 3-point shooting list. Shout out to him, man. Yeah.
Klay had a good night, man, but I'm not shocked against a team like the Rockets. Klay had a good night. 7 of 12 from the field, 5 of 10 from downtown. Klay is still at this point of his career, man. It's just you hope to get a good Klay against a really good team, but against a team like the Rockets, young team, these are the type of games where he can shine. So, one, kudos to Klay for such a milestone, but two, I like seeing Klay being able to thrive, man, and just succeed, just because he's gone through so many injuries. But I really like that bench unit for the Warriors, man, with Paul, Saric, Peyton, Moody, Kuminga, like having all those guys. You can really utilize some athleticism, especially with Moody and Kuminga, and I'd like to see them just get more out of those guys. That's the only thing, because Moody went 1 for 6. You have Kuminga going 3 for 8. Just need to get them more involved and figure out how they fit into the system, and just for the new guard for the Warriors, because at some point that dynasty is going to end.
Yeah, no question about it, man. Daniel, if we have Steve Kerr's reaction to CP3 adjusting to this bench role, let's pull that one up. Steve Kerr post game after the Dubs 106-95 win over the Rockets.
It's massive the way Chris has embraced everything, here in the first month since he's been with us. As you know, tonight was the first game of his entire career. He didn't start. And, when I talked to him this morning about it, he just, nodded his head. And we said, let's go get him. It was like not even a big deal. So I think it's similar to Andre all those years ago, I guess 2014, when a vet, a great player, all-star, shows that kind of sacrifice. It just sets a tone for the whole team. And so the vibe is great on our team, and Chris is one of the main reasons for that.
It always fascinates me how the aging superstar handles that fall from grace, right? Whether it's the divorce or the separation from your longtime team, either to retire or to move on to another team, or it's handling the adjustment to a new role. Like, you're no longer going to be the guy. You're no longer going to be the head of the snake. We need you in this role. And so how players handle that in all sports is always fascinating to me. CP3, again, right now, he's playing a good Boy Scout role. Steve Kerr is certainly applauding him. It doesn't seem like a professional of his caliber, a player of his caliber would, upset the flow and the chemistry, but we'll see. We'll see once they start hitting some adversity. Let's see what happens. But look, so far, so good. He's embracing it, and the Dubs got the job done last night.
Look, it's never easy for a guy like Chris Paul in these situations to go from being regarded as one of the top players, being a starter. Like everywhere you go, you're looked as a difference maker, right? I mean, whether it was on the Rockets, OKC, whether it's down in New Orleans, out in LA, you name it, all of his stops, he was always a starter, as Curtis talked about, as we talked about on the show. And for anyone like him, like you can go to Andre Iguodala, right? When Kerr said, "Hey, you would be most effective off the bench." It's a bite. It's a bite to the ego, man. These guys, like, you need to have an ego to compete in this league. So for guys like Iguodala, right? I think there was I think I read an article on Will when he was told that it's probably better for him to come off the bench. It's not an easy pill to swallow. So for Chris Paul, like it makes it's I can only imagine how difficult it is for him. But at the same time, if he looks at his peers around the league, like guys like Melo, guys like Westbrook, who, push back at the idea of coming off the bench as they're getting older, he probably looks at that and say, you know what, these guys got a lot of pushback for how great they are, and look what's happened to them. I mean, Westbrook was essentially kicked out of LA even after he finally accepted coming off the bench to help the Lakers, right? You look at Melo, where the whole comment, like, who, me? Like, coming off the bench, and it's like, and that was like that was regarded throughout the entire league, like, oh, he can't understand that he needs to come off the bench. Like, he's just for whatever reason, the league viewed Melo as like this guy who was just not the same anymore at that point in time, with OKC saying, we're done with this experiment. I think Chris Paul also sees that, says, look, if I want longevity in this league and to have another few more years, I have to accept this role at this point in my career. And especially when you're on a team like the Warriors, right? We're talking about a team that has won 4 championships. It's not, he can't come in here saying, I demand this. This isn't the OKC team. This isn't Lob City. This ain't the Rockets. This is the Warriors. You got Steph, Clay, Draymond. These guys have been there before. So he also has to put his ego in check with regards to who's on that roster too.
No question about it. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Next game, Al, Philadelphia at home. Their home opener against the upstart Portland Trailblazers, Scoot Henderson and the gang. But the story in this one, which was incredibly interesting, was that there were reports that came out in this game that the reigning MVP Joel Embiid was going to sit this game out, the Sixers home opener, due to not injury, not his back, not his knee, rest. They were legitimately about to sit this man out at the Sixers home opener for rest. Nevertheless, they decided to play him. He goes out there, obliterates DeAndre Ayton, dominates the Dominator, 35 points, 15 rebounds for the process, 7 dimes, 6 blocks, 12 of 22 from the field, 2 of 4 from downtown, an MVP caliber performance for a guy who was originally slated to not play in this game due to rest, man. Philly rolls all over the Blazers, 126-98. Thoughts on this game, the Embiid situation? What do you think?
I just want to talk about the other team for a second, the Trailblazers, because I actually like that team. I like that team just because they're spunky. Unfortunately, you see where youth comes into play in this game, where around the third quarter, they just can't hang anymore with a talented team and an experienced team like the 76ers. But I like what they got going on over there, man. I like Scoot. I like Shadon Sharp. I like Jeremy Grant on there. I think Malcolm Brogdon was a good addition, even though for Celtics fans, they wanted to get him up and out of there, out of Beantown. I think he's good just to help Scoot play off ball and to just alleviate Scoot of all the playmaking responsibilities. The one thing I will say is that we don't need any more DeAndre Ayton, Robert Williams minutes together. That's a little weird.
Yeah.
But hey, I like this team as it's currently constructed. I think there's a big, bright future for them. They're going to be tough. They're going to be a competitive team. They're not going to roll over easy. Unfortunately, in this game, they just got outclassed because the Sixers are just so experienced. But for the Joel Embiid thing, man, for potentially sitting out, what are we doing, man? Like, did everyone just look at 65 games plus whatever, excuses may be allowed that we're going to be okay doing this, and just what do we calculate how many 65 games? I mean, just calculate the 65 games to make sure that everyone gets the bare minimum amount just so they can get their awards and get that extra dough. Like, come on, man. I mean, you have Devin Booker missing a game after he was just healthy. You have Bradley Beal missing game, even though he's injured. Like, it's just insane, man. Just play the game. Just play the game.
I mean, imagine being a Sixers season ticket holder. You waited all season long to get home. You getting off work. You on your way to the game, only to find out that the MVP, one of the reasons you even showing up to the game and paying these tickets, is going to sit out the home opener for rest. I mean, that is crazy. I don't know if the Sixers got a call from the league, like, yo, you guys are wilding. Like, I know we want this load management policy to really impact national TV games, but I mean, you're gonna have your best player potentially not play in a home opener where you're most likely, like most teams do, charge a premium for. That would have been insane, absolutely insane. So he comes in, he dominates. He does a DX crotch chop. Looks like he's well rested to me because he was out there just killing everybody. So,
and that's the thing, right?
It's
and
insane.
That's the thing. Like, why was he even questionable for this game when he goes out there and just has a dominant performance? What was the stat line again? Where is he? Looking for Joel Embiid. He had 35 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, 6 blocks.
Yeah.
Shot 54% from the field. 50% from downtown, went 2 of 4 from downtown. Like, how is he even listed as questionable? This man's flying over the place too. Like, he's stepping around like he's light on his feet. Like, what are we doing here, man?
In the
like, if I'm Adam Silver, I'm like, hold on one second. This guy looks very healthy. Yeah. What were you ready to do, and why?
Insane, man. In the first week of the NBA, you've had Devin Booker miss time, Bradley Beal. You've had Embiid being threatened to sit out with for rest. You've had Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Jared Allen out, and they're going to be playing the Knicks on TNT on Tuesday. So let's see what happens there. But so far, this new load management policy, the NBR, the NBA's PR machine came out in force before this season started. Right? They came out. This is the load management memo. You must play 2 stars before national TV games, or have a doctor's note if so-and-so can't play this, that, and third. And the NBA's just like, okay, try it. Because on any given night, any player can get nicked up, banged up, and you could make a case for them to sit out a game. Because at the end of the day, these teams are trying to protect their investments. They're trying to protect their money, and they're trying to get to the money, which is April, May, and June, when you're going to start raising your prices on your playoff tickets, your merch is selling, all of that. So it's a complete mess, man. It is a complete mess, and I've never seen anything like it in the first week.
This would not have happened under David Stern's watch. My goodness.
Yeah, no. So Stern would not have it, man. Absolutely not. What else happened in this game? And an interesting game, man. 17 blocks for the Sixers in this game, man. Absolutely dominated the Blazers in this one. Look, it's a young Blazer team having a tough start. As you mentioned, Scoot Henderson, only 4 points for Scoot, 2 of 7 from the field. DeAndre Ayton not really doing much. 7 points, 3 of 7 from the field out there. Shaedon Sharpe led the Blazers in scoring with 20. And for the Sixers, hey, they're top 3. They're playing ball, man. You got Tobias Harris, another efficient night. He's carrying over his efficiency.
I got it.
Here. 8 of 11 from the field, 2 of 3 from downtown, plus 31 on the night. You got Maxey. He's an absolute blur out there. 26 from Maxey, 10 boards, 4 dimes, 6 of 14 from the field, 4 of 8 from downtown. That Sixers threes, they're looking pretty cohesive so far.
The thing about before I ask you about Tobias Harris, the thing about Maxey, man, is that he shot poorly from the field. 6 of 14, man. Wasn't an efficient night for him.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you have one more bucket and you go 50%. So I'll take that back. But regardless, he got most of his points by getting to the line. I mean, his ability to just draw contact in multitudes of fashion, like whether it's him going downhill, his shiftiness, it's insane, man. 10 free throws, 10. Dude was just on one last night. But now getting to Tobias Harris. And I guess this is kind of a 2-part thing because James Harden's still not playing with the team, right? Tobias Harris, as you said, another efficient night for him. Do you keep James Harden off this team because one, you see, I guess, a revival of Tobias Harris. The ball movement is much more crisp because it's just flying around without James Harden hogging the rock. What do you do?
Well, look, they're going to trade him regardless, right? So his days are numbered, man. And maybe is it an addition by subtraction, so to speak? Maybe that's what is opening up things for Tobias Harris, right? Obviously, it gives Maxey complete free reign. Like, this is his team now, along with Embiid. Like, this is their show. So it could be an addition by subtraction, but then also you're getting a little bit of scoring from Kelly Oubre Jr. off the bench. So some of that Harden production, you're giving that to Kelly Oubre off the bench. And even though Kelly Oubre is a guy that, is going to be looking for his shot, at least in the starting unit, you kind of have more continuity and you don't just have a guy like a Harden who's going to hold on to the ball and slow things down a bit. Because right now on the Nick Nurse, the Sixers are playing a lot faster. You can see it. So maybe it's an addition by subtraction sort of thing.
Maybe. I think because shout out to our guy Kevin O'Connor at The Ringer. He wrote how Harden should come back and play. And, it would help his trade value. Sixers are playing well right now. New system under Nick Nurse. To me, man, it's complicated because I can understand that thought where you're like, for Morey and Harden, it's a difficult situation right now. No one wants to trade for James Harden because of all the stops and what he's done in Houston and Brooklyn and now Philly. And for Morey, he wants a high return, but no one's going to give Morey that return because of what Harden is, right? So I get the idea of saying, hey, Harden, if you can play in the system, you should come back to increase your trade value. And then not saying that you have any long-term relationship, right? Maybe you play the year out, who knows? But at some point, it could help both parties achieve what they want instead of all the turmoil that has unfolded this offseason. I think it's an interesting way to look at it.
Well, one thing that's very interesting was Gary Myers was on the ESPN telecast on the opening night when the Knicks were playing the Celtics, and they were talking to him about the same thing, the situation in Philly with Harden and Embiid and how he would handle that as an executive. And he talked about the fact that, listen, sometimes you got to go to your star player for a consultation and be like, hey, what do you think? Like, what do you think about this? Is this a guy that we need to keep? And he talked about a situation with Draymond Green where Steph was like, yo, listen, this is our guy. We got to be able to keep him here. And so to tie that back to Philadelphia, I'm wondering, where is Joel Embiid in all of this? Right? Like, where is Joel Embiid in terms of his communication with Morey and the front office? Is Joel Embiid advocating for James Harden to stay? Or is he like, listen, I'm with whatever you guys want to do? Is he like, yo, get rid of him? Where is Joel Embiid's head in this? Because you have to think, if he was all in with James Harden would be here, right? Because Philly's looking at a situation now where they're not going to get equal value, so to speak, in terms of caliber player for James Harden right now on a lame duck contract. So they've got to be thinking two steps ahead at all times, meaning if we don't get an adequate return for James Harden, there's a possibility that this team may take a step back and Joel Embiid may ask for a trade. So have they looped him into the mix? What's his thoughts on it? I think it's very interesting. But if Harden right now is still on the way out, does that mean that he hasn't gotten the vote of confidence from Joel Embiid?
Do you think that Daryl Morey went up to Joel and be like, hey, do you want Harden here or whatnot? He's like, I'll trust your process, man. Whatever you guys want to do.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but that's the thing. It almost seems to me like Joel Embiid is either indifferent or is co-signing this.
I think it's the first one. I think it's indifferent, man. I just think it's indifferent because it doesn't seem like just based on like the lack of, I guess, statements out of him about the James Harden situation. It just seems like, hey, if he's here, he's here. If he's not, he's not. Like, I'm going to focus on playing basketball. And that's more so for the front office to make a decision. And he doesn't want to get involved in it. And look, there's just some guys who are like that who just say, look, I don't want to burn bridges. I don't want to have my name like tarnished around the league for like the decisions that I make. And I'll leave that to the guys up top. And I'm just going to focus on playing basketball. And I think that's where it may be, just because we haven't really heard much. I feel like you can kind of get like how Giannis, right, was able to navigate those waters off season and say, hey, I'm not going to sign an extension unless, I see that this franchise, that being the Milwaukee Bucks, is serious about helping me compete. And then you see how they go and turn around and go get Damian Lillard, and then he signs that contract extension. So for Joel Embiid, I feel like if there's somebody that he really wanted, right? Because it's not just like, hey, get rid of James Harden. It's also saying, hey, who in return do I want on this team that I believe can help me take to that next level? So I think that's where I'm going for. He's indifferent. You know what I mean? And I feel like if he really came out and said something along the lines of what Giannis did, then I could say, hey, I think he's making that decision of saying, let's move on from James Harden. And he has a true say in what the matter is.
Fair enough, man. And for the Sixers, they'll take on the 1-2 Raptors. Raptors visiting Philly to take on their old coach, Nick Nurse. And that will be this Thursday, November 2nd. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe to the channel. The NBA Report, man. CP the franchise, Alex Rotaros on the 1s and 2s. So to everybody in the chat, we got Corey Mitchell in here. My 2 cents. John Talento. Salute to JJ from Brooklyn. Raymond Jimenez says, CP and Alex, thanks for bringing NBA Report to us. Shout out to Eric L. Beats in the chat. We got J. Ray says, Spurs Nation checking in. Tough loss to the Clippers yesterday, but it's still early in the season this year. It's all about development for Wemby. All right, we'll definitely tap in on Spurs Clippers, man. But we got to talk about the champs, Al, because this was my game of the weekend, the one I was looking forward to the most, even though it kind of delivered the least. Because the champs went into OKC, man. Jokic, Murray, and the gang went into OKC to tango with SGA. You had the Canada matchup between Canadians. Then you had the big man matchup with Jokic and the young upstart Chet Holmgren. Hey, and the champs put the smackdown on the young upstart Thunder team, man. 128-95. No worries for OKC. I mean, no worries for Denver whatsoever, man. Nikola Jokic leading charge, 28 points, 14 boards, 12 of 16 from the field. You had Jamal Murray, 9 of 14 from the field, 19 points, 8 dimes. And Michael Porter Jr. with 20 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists on 8 of 14, shooting 4 of 7 from downtown, man. This was easy money for the champs. Went in there and just laid the smack down on them. Look, the Jokic Chet matchup was cool to watch, but obviously Chet was going to offer very little resistance to Nikola Jokic, who just
won first season
went out there and punished the kid, and then says he's got to get a little bit fatter as he develops. So shout out to Jokic, and SGA kind of struggled in this one, man. Wasn't really up for it. It was 7 points for SGA, 2 of 16 from the field, 7 dimes. Yeah, Jalen Williams did his thing out there. 13 points for Jalen Williams, 6 of 9, 5 assists, and Chet with 19 on 7 of 12 shooting for Chet Holmgren, man. What you think about this one?
Look, if you don't have SGA playing at the level we're accustomed to, going 2 for 16 from the field, you're not, only getting to the free throw line 4 times. It's not a recipe for success for OKC. He is that engine for OKC. So if he's going to struggle, the rest of the team is going to struggle. Just once again, going based off of youth, like Chet Holmgren, first season, everybody else, even though they've been in the league for a while, this is really like the first time that we're seeing OKC try to compete and make a name for themselves throughout the regular season. So just tough if you're not going to have SGA. But look, did you even mention Jokic, man? 12 from 16.
Yeah, started with Jokic. Yeah.
I didn't hear that. It was just, whew. It's just the Nuggets, man. They're the champs. They're not slowing down, whatsoever.
Yeah,
they said, look, we won the championship, had a nice little break. We're back to work. Nothing's changed.
No question.
Give them respect.
Yeah. Yeah, no question, man. And another reason why they are just really picking up where they left off. I mean, number one, you look at some of the shooting numbers from this game. They shot 60% from the field, 40% from downtown, 48, won the rebounding battle by damn near double. They have 48 rebounds. 34 assists to OKC's 22. How about this? Points in the paint. 72 points in the paint to 58 for the OKC Thunder, man. But another reason, because one of my storylines for the Nuggets is how does the bench look without Bruce Brown, without Jeff Green, two of the key contributors to that championship run. And they are picking up right where they left off, man, because I got to put some respect on Peyton Watson's name. Peyton Watson, bro, second-year guard out of UCLA he's balling for that Denver bench, man. Gives him some nice length, some nice wingspan, 6'7", two-way player. He finished with 17 points on four boards and 8 of 11 shooting from the field, plus 11 on the night. He's a scrapper, man. He gives him some nice athleticism. I like his game. He balled out for them last night. Christian Brown had a good game for them, man. A plus 25 on the night, 13 points for Brown, 7 dimes on 4-9 shooting from the field. So, give credit to Calvin Booth and this Nugget staff, man, because it just seems like from Brown to Watson, just seems like they continue to just pull out, some strong talent out the draft and guys that are ready to go and ready to contribute, man. So give credit because Calvin Booth seems to be putting some more complementary pieces around this Nuggets big three, and it looks good so far.
And you just see like they lose Bruce Brown this offseason, right, to the Pacers, and you could see where Mike Malone was confident in his development, where when you only have to focus on one player and not multiple guys, I feel like it's easier for him, especially when you have established guys like Jokic, Gordon, Porter, Jackson, Murray on the team. But like to bring in Watson, to have him come along and just be instant contributor this season, that you got to give credit to Mike Malone and that training staff and that coaching staff for developing him and being ready for these type of moments. And look, he's going to get the reps, man. And this is where, if you're a team like the Nuggets and you have depth like this, you're able to continue these long sustained runs, especially when you keep that core together. So Denver just looking like another tough season for the West to have to go against the Denver Nuggets. And it feels like, because you see all these prognosticators, man, it's like they're throwing Milwaukee up there, they're throwing Boston up there. It's like, can you give respect to the champs? Like, they're coming out here making light work of teams right now, and they're showing that they're not slowing down. So got to give the Nuggets their respect.
Yeah. No, absolutely right, man. Absolutely right. So they seem like they are picking, and especially Jokic. The thing is that, you're coming off of a championship, and this guy's just, picks up where he left off. Everything's cool.
After racing horses, he's like,
racing horses,
I'm back.
Dancing on tables in clubs. This guy's back like it's game 50 already. He's
only focused on weightlifting for a month or two. Didn't really play ball like that. He's coming out here. Man's making. Dude had 28 points, 14 rebounds, only 5 assists. But my goodness, man. My goodness. What a force to be reckoned with.
What a force, man. Call us up, 657-383-1509, or you can hit us up on the NBA Report Discord. CP and Alex on the ones and twos. NBA Report recapping the weekend that was around the National Basketball Association, man. Let's talk about Milwaukee and the Atlanta Hawks, man. Hawks going in to Milwaukee looking for their first win of the season, and they got it. They got it, man. 127-110. Hawks beat the Bucks. And the storyline here was Dame Dollars, man. They kept Dame Dollars in check. 0 points at the half for Dame. He would finish with just 6 points on the night, 6 turnovers for dropping dimes, and 2 of 12 shooting. 2 of 8 from the 3-point line, and 5 dimes. Giannis would chip in with 26 and 11 for the Bucks. 2 blocks, 9 of 14 shooting. No Chris Middleton last night, as they are monitoring his return from knee surgery. So the Bucks were one of their guns down, but the Hawks went in there and did their thing, man. Kept dropping dimes in check and won it 127-110. What'd you think of this one?
I'm sorry, I'm just laughing because there's 2 comments that I think you'll like. Shout out to John Talento. He said, OKC needs Trey Man. Says Trey Man needs more minutes. There's your guy right there. And then JJ out here saying, Jokic is almost as good as Duren. But anyway, blow it up, CP. It's over. Bucks experiment is done. Damian Lillard. This is what I'm playing. These nights happen, man. Size happen. Talk about early in the season. Not too worried about the Milwaukee Bucks. That was their second game of the season. So they're going to just try to bounce back against Miami, man, and that's going to be an interesting matchup for tonight because that was the first round, right? They knocked them out. So how you're going to see Dame facing Miami. That was Miami's guy. That's who they wanted to go get. They didn't get him. So now he's going to face off against them. And then, like I said, how the Bucks were just eliminated by Miami after Giannis hurts his back in the playoffs. It's going to be interesting, but not too worried, man. These things happen in the NBA. There's going to be some nights where teams win, and I'm not a big believer in the Atlanta Hawks. I think their defense is very questionable. They just yesterday was just a time where you have Dame struggle. Hawks were on one. And the reason why I just don't even believe is because Trey didn't really shoot that well. He got to the line a lot. Like he shot 5 for 14, shot 35% from the field, but he got 20 points because he went 7 for 9 from the free throw line. So I'm not really too impressed with what the Hawks did to say, the Bucks are in trouble. Like if your top guy isn't really doing it and everybody else is filling in, how many nights are you going to have where it's just DeJounte Murray and all your role players, shooting really well to lead this team? And not take anything away from DeJounte Murray. He's a good player, but typically you need both of your stars to play well when you have a majority of role players on the rest of the team. So not worried about the Bucks. What are your thoughts about this game, though?
Yeah, five Hawks in double figures. Well, Bucks defense needs a little bit of a regroup for giving up 127 to the Hawks. But I think, look, the Dame thing, it is what it is. Like guys have off nights. It's his second game. This is second game of the season with the team. So they need time to gel and get some chemistry. I think the biggest concern might be Chris Middleton. I think that might be the biggest one, and not for this game at all, but really long term. Is he going to be healthy enough and play at a high enough level to help them win? They say he's expected to be back tonight against the Heat. So let's see how he looks. Is Chris Middleton going to come back healthy?
Do you think Giannis and Dame are enough to get to the championship without Middleton? Because at this point, you just have to account for Middleton missing time, whether it's now during the regular season and potentially in the playoffs.
Yeah. Do they have enough? That's left to be seen. Again, we got to see how they defend. You know what I mean? Like we got to see how they defend, but offensively, I still think Middleton would be ideal because he's your most reliable shooter outside of Dame. Mm-hmm. So you don't know what Connaughton's going to give you. Giannis obviously is Giannis. You hope that Lopez and Portis can sprinkle things in and maybe, space the floor out a little bit for you, but you still need that third scorer, someone that Middleton can be if he's healthy. So let's see what happens there. Now you got, as you said, Milwaukee and the Heat tonight. The whole sidebar storylines, Dame, did he want to go to Miami, this, that, and the third? He was asked about that after last night's game and really kind of just, shoot it off. Said, listen, it is what it is. And Daniel, if you have that graphic, the Dame and Jimmy Butler graphic, here it is. I'm not going into the game versus Miami like this team, the team that I was supposed to be playing for. None of that. I know Jimmy, I know Bam, we're cool, but I play for the Bucks. So there's Dame. And hopefully we can put it to bed, man. I feel like we're still curious to hear about Tyler Hero's feelings about this. Like, why? I don't care what Tyler Hero thinks about this either.
Ah, man. This is a storyline, man. And look, it's probably gonna be a storyline for the rest of the season. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like last season with the Knicks and
Mhm.
Donovan Mitchell, it's going to be the same thing for Damian Lillard and the Miami Heat because he requested a trade to Miami. The trade didn't go down. Now he's with Milwaukee. Now the question is, can Miami get back to the finals like they did last season? Two, will they have enough to do all that because they lost guys like Gabe Vincent and Max Strus?
Yeah.
And three, like, is the window starting to close for Miami? Right? That's the big thing. And I guess even the fourth one, if they do match up, right? Can Miami take down Milwaukee again? Those are all the questions that we're gonna have as we watch the season unfold because Milwaukee is going to be there if everyone's healthy. Can Miami get back there? Are they just a play-in team again? And will they make it there? That we'll have to wait and see. But these are going to be the storylines as the season goes on because if it's not, then you got to look at it as how they talked about the Knicks and Donovan Mitchell, that it was kind of a failure, right? Whereas it's not a failure unless like you beat them or you make some noise in the playoffs. That's how it's going to look.
There you go, man. We're going to see what happens at 8 o'clock. But, for the Heat, I think a lot of those questions really depends on Tyler Hero, who we just talked about. Right? Like, he's got to show this year, I think, to Pat Riley and that front office that we don't have to go get Donovan Mitchell, who I think they would be after.
Mm-hmm.
Can Hero be that guy consistently who can be a number 2 guy? Because we know Jimmy's going to be there in the playoffs. We know he's going to elevate his game. We know what Bam is going to do in terms of just doing all the dirty work, doing all the little things, which is great. And we have a good supporting cast. Maybe Kyle Lowry can give me a little bit more. Maybe Kevin Love still has some gas in the tank. I like what Jaime Jaquez can be as a ready-made plug-and-play guy. We'll see what Jovic does. He still have Duncan Robinson, but it's really Hero to me as that primary scorer and playmaker who has to consistently show this year that, they're in good hands here and that they don't have to panic and go out and go get Donovan Mitchell. And because we heard Riley say with the Dame trade that they weren't willing to put the whole war chest up to go get a guy like that. So to me, Riley's either hoping for internal development or hoping to get a guy like a Spider for cheaper and then go from there. So I don't see it with this team, but we counted them out last year and they surprised us. So we'll see if they do it again, man. Looking forward to this matchup tonight.
Absolutely. And look, you talked about it, but between the big three on Miami, who you talk about, Bam and Jimmy are not really 3-level scorers like that. Like Jimmy on some nights can hit the 3-ball well, but for the most part, he's a guy that likes to operate from the mid-range and close. Same thing with Bam. Tyler Hero is supposed to be your 3-level threat. So you lose, like I said, you lose Max Strus, you lose Gabe Vincent. He has to step up. The question is, can he be a good enough defender? Because that's the big thing, right? Is that he's not a good defender. And that's where losing somebody like Gabe Vincent in that starting rotation, even when Hero missed the playoffs last year, it's like, all right, we can survive with this because all of our role players are exceeding expectations because they're just shooting at a high clip from the perimeter. But at the same time, these guys are gritty enough on defense where they'll make life a living hell for whoever they face up with. So that's the other thing for Tyler Hero. Can he be a good enough defender and still be your still be your good shot maker? He's a good shot maker, but he's not elite where it's like you can live with the fact that he doesn't play defense like a Damian Lillard, right?
Yeah.
So as you pointed out, to wait and see. I'm not really. I think the Heat are just a playing team because you still got to believe in Jimmy Butler and what Bam did from last year. The question to take to the next level is, does Tyler Hero take it up a notch?
Yeah, no question about it, man. So let's see what happens tonight. 8 o'clock, the rematch with some new cast of characters. Interesting indeed, man. So to everybody in the chat, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. The NBA Report, CP and Alex on the ones and twos. Let's take this one out to Sacktown. Sacramento Kings hosting the Los Angeles Lakers, Al, and in a battle of division rivals. A good matchup, a good game, man. Really went back and forth. Sacramento holding on to a pretty sizable lead up until the second half when the Lakers made their charge. This one would go into overtime when Sacramento was able to pull ahead. Kevin Huerter and Malik Monk with some clutch shots to pull Sacramento over the Lakers 132-127 in overtime. De'Aaron Fox did leave the game late in the fourth quarter, or midway through the fourth quarter, with a pretty bad sprained ankle, but came back to finish and finished him off. He did, man. 37 points for Swiper, 8 dimes, 14 of 24 from the field. He was absolutely incredible. Keegan Murray had some clutch shots in this game, man. 17 points for Murray, 5 dimes, 8 rebounds, 6 of 4. And Malik Monk off the bench, man, 6th man of the year candidate, 22 points from Monk, 7 of 17 from the field, 4-9 from downtown. For the Lakers, you had AD, Anthony Davis, man, 30 points, 16 boards, 11 of 22 from the field. And King James, man, 27 points, 15 boards, 8 dimes, 11 of 19 from the field. The first time that LeBron James, is actually the 20th anniversary of his first NBA game, which was in Sacramento on ESPN, if you remember.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. I think the first thing, even though Anthony Davis had 30 points last night, I'm really looking at him in the fourth quarter and overtime, man, because if you just look at the box score, you'd be like, oh, he had a very strong performance. But you go 1 for 5 in the fourth quarter. You don't hit any threes, even on 1 attempt, and you only get to the free throw line twice. You only take 2 free throw attempts. So 30 points is nice, but when your team needed you the most, you didn't do it in the fourth quarter. You had to rely on LeBron James, who got you the 9 points in the fourth quarter, went 4 for 6 from the field, right? And then in overtime, LeBron James had to lead the way with his 7 points, goes 100% from the field, knocks his sole 3-pointer down, gets you 3 boards and 1 assist. Anthony Davis only takes 1 attempt, knocks down his 1 attempt for 2 points, but you got to do more than that, man. We keep talking about, like, you need Anthony Davis to do more if you're going to have this Lakers team compete. And for a team that's like, we want to give LeBron James the rest. How can you give him the rest if he's relied on, man? I mean, last night, I think he played 39 minutes.
39 minutes. So much for load management for LeBron James.
Game 3.
He didn't play less than 30 minutes for the next 2 games after Darvin Ham made that declaration. So there that goes. That's out the window. LeBron.
And that's where you gotta look at Anthony Davis. And that's where you gotta look at Anthony Davis and be like, dude, you're out here playing 41 minutes. I need you to be Anthony Davis. I need you to be that guy that we traded a haul for. Yeah, you got that chip a few years ago on the bubble, but LeBron James is getting up there. You're trying to reserve LeBron James for the remainder of the season. Looking at Anthony Davis, he just needs to step up. And same thing with Austin Reeves, man. Like 1 for 12 from the field. Come on now.
Yeah.
Like, they give you that contract extension, and now you're just shooting like, oof, man.
Yeah.
And where's the playmaking? You only got you 2 assists last night. Like,
I don't know if that's a Team USA hangover for him too, but hasn't started off the year as strong as most Laker fans would like. But it is what it is, man. But how about Keegan Murray, man? Keegan Murray, look, Sacramento, obviously it's Swiper's team, Sabonis secondarily, but Keegan Murray, to me, is a potential swing player for this team in terms of where they can go as far and how far they can go. Last offseason, they were flirting with Kyle Kuzma. They were trying to get in with some other wings. You were hearing a lot of different names being tossed around, but ultimately they decided against it. But Keegan Murray, could he potentially be that swing guy for this team where they say, you know what, we may not have to look outside. Maybe we have everything we need within, and what we truly need, which is some more force, some more defense down low in the paint to either help Sabonis or maybe supplant Sabonis, depending on where they go. Maybe that changes things, man. I think Keegan Murray has that potential.
He's looking good, man. I really like the Sacramento Kings team too. Defense still seems like it's going to be an issue for this year because they scored 132 as the Lakers scored 127. But I like what Keegan Murray is showing. He's looking solid, man, as a pickup for them. Like just the Kings as a whole, man. They got shooting, they got speed, they got playmaking. You see Mike Brown implementing that Warriors type offense where everyone's just consistently moving, no one's standing still. I like everything that this team is doing, and they're going to be a tough out in the West, man. They're going to be a tough out in the West, but Keegan Murray, he's looking solid. So you're saying you think that the Kings can move off of Domantas Sabonis? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Well, what I'm saying is that they need a lot of defense. They need more of a force in the middle. And I'm just saying in terms of potential moves, instead of that wing player like they were looking for in a Kyle Kuzma, is it taking Sabonis and maybe with the pieces that you get back from, maybe you get a pick and another established role player, are you able to add a little bit more on the defensive front to make you a little bit stronger? Like, is it a stretch four that they need in that spot? Or is it, a stretch four and another, defensive, maybe a rim running five? Like, I think they need to get a little bit stronger there. It just, obviously, it's not going to come at the expense of Swiper, or maybe it's a guy like a Sabonis down the road where they may need to move him to try to improve the team.
I think down the road is what I can see other than this season. I think it's still too early for them to really just move off of Sabonis. They just got him. This is the second full season with him being there in Sacramento. He had a good season between him and Fox last year. They have really good chemistry. I think for them, they're going to give it another chance and see, can you live with an undersized center, especially in the West where you have Nikola Jokic? And if they're going to continue to win games at a high level and give up so many points on the other end of the court, I think you do have to be concerned because that's where you're going to need that force of a center, right? Maybe you try to go talk to somebody, I don't know, maybe like the Detroit Pistons to go get the next coming of I don't know, who is it? Hakeem Olajuwon, as some people are saying, for Jalen Duren. I'm talking about you, JJ.
Jalen Duren, man, absolutely. And speaking of which, let's talk about it, man. Chicago against the Detroit Pistons. Chicago visiting Detroit. This is a division matchup here. And then this one, you had Zach LaVine with 51 points, a 50 piece for Zach LaVine. We all know that he can get buckets in droves. But it was the Pistons that would win this game, man. 118-102. You had Cade. Cade is starting off strong this season, man. Cade Cunningham, 25 points, 10 dimes for Cunningham on 9 of 19 shooting. Yeah, Jalen Duren, as you talked about, the big man, 19 years old, out of Memphis, 9 of 11 from the field, 23 points, 15 boards, 5 dimes for Jalen Duren. Isaiah Stewart were chipping with 14 points, 9 boards. And my guy, Alec Burks, 6 of 10. Alec Burks, 6 of 10 from downtown for 18 points. The vet leading the way. Downtown Alec Burks, man. So, man. Detroit gets win number 2. You got Asar Thompson playing well for them. 9 points, 12 boards, 5 dimes, a steal, a block. So he's getting all over the stat sheet. Young Detroit squad is playing ball, man. What you think about this one?
They're looking good, man. They're looking good to start off the season.
Yeah.
Duren, as we talked about, looking like a force these first few games. So you gotta be happy with what you're seeing there. And then Cade Cunningham looks like he's finally come along very well after being injured last season. It's a young Pistons team, man. Like the Blazers, like the Rockets. I look at this team as that they should be feisty. They should not be an easy out any given night. And as they showed against Chicago, they're not going to be. That's what you want to see from this team moving forward. Can they compete on a night-to-night basis and not just be the league's doormat? So for them to start off this way and to have their youth looking so good to begin, you got to give credit to Monty Williams and just want to see how this team progresses moving forward.
I saw a tweet. I don't remember where it was from, but I saw a tweet that said Jalen Duren is everything Monty Williams wanted in DeAndre Ayton.
Oh my God. I mean, whoever tweeted that ain't wrong though.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong.
Is not wrong.
He's not wrong. I mean, the kid plays with a mean streak. He has excellent touch around the basket and excellent feel. I mean, he talked about it after the game in terms of working with Cade Cunningham. He said, look, Cade's got a high IQ. I got a high IQ. And this kid he looks like a polished player, man. At 19 years old, he looks like a seasoned vet. And I think that's what's really exciting a lot of people about his game. He's filled out like a seasoned vet. He's built like a seasoned vet. I mean, the guy's out there looking like Kevin Willis, for Christ's sakes, man. and his game is matching up with that. So look, through these first what are we 3 games in with Detroit? 3 games, yep. 18 points in the 3 games, 15 boards, damn near 2.7 block shots and 4 dimes for Jalen Duren in this early season. So Pistons fans have got to be excited about this kid because he's looking like the goods right now, man.
And you have Isaiah Stewart out there too, who's also, he's a brick wall. So the front court is legit. My question is, if you're Marvin Bagley, if you're James Wiseman, how upset are you right now? Because in front of you is a guy who deserves all the minutes. It's not even close to any of those guys scratching the surface. Unless he's hurt, you don't need to see Bagley or Wiseman get a lot of minutes. What are your thoughts about that?
It's the NBA for you, man. It's next man up. And those 2 guys, when they got to Detroit for the purpose of, is this going to be my re-jumping off point? You know what I mean? Like, is this going to be the place where I land on my feet and reclaim my career and become what everybody's wanted me to be, right? That top draft pick with all the critical acclaim. Is this a place to get right? And then, boom, the next draft, your replacement is on the way, fellas. So, hey, listen, it's going to be sink or swim time. Anything's possible. Anything can happen. Those guys are going to have to fight, scratch, and claw for their minutes because Jalen Duren is looking like there's no turning back for him. It's full steam ahead with him and Cade Cunningham as their 1-2 punch, and they're looking like a nice scrapping team, man.
And the other thing that's interesting is that you have Killian Hayes as a starter and Jaden Ivey coming off the bench.
Yeah.
That's shocking.
I noticed that, man. That's interesting. Very interesting. So, hey, maybe Monty's, trying to keep this kid hungry.
I mean, it's not like Killian Hayes is doing anything spectacular either. I mean, he's shooting below 30% on all areas, man. Field goal, he's getting 27 minutes. He's averaging 27 minutes a night, getting you 7 points per game. So it's quite the decision to have Ivy on the bench right now. I guess to your point, it has to be that Monty wants to keep Jaden Ivey hungry because even if you look at the stat line last night, Ivy takes 1 more attempt, shoots 50%, better than Killian Hayes. It's just interesting, man. It's just very interesting for a guy that you drafted so high last season, and Killian, who's just been such a disappointment out in Detroit, that you have Jaden Ivey on the bench.
Yeah. It's certainly interesting, man. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys, CP and Alex on the 1s and 2s, the NBA report. Shout out to our guy, Gamba the Bar, Team NBA report with a $5 super chat to salute to NBA Nation. Hit that thumbs up, hit that like button, and making sure you are sharing these videos, man. Go out there and share it on Twitter right this second, man. Share it on Twitter and let the people know that we are live. Okay, also, last night's matchup, man, you had Spurs past versus Spurs present and future as Victor Wembanyama and the young San Antonio Spurs visited Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and the Los Angeles Clippers, and were immediately shown the door, man. 123-83. Clippers just absolutely put the smackdown on the Spurs. Spurs starters, Al, combined for a whopping 39 points last night.
Oh, my goodness. It's like your CYO team out here.
A whopping 39 points put up by the Spurs starters. Wemby with 11 points, 5 rebounds, 5 turnovers. Vortex shooting from the field. For the Clippers, PG, 19 points on 80-17 shooting. He had Kawhi Leonard, 21 points, 6-13 shooting. Russell Westbrook, Brody chips in for 19 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. Nice, efficient night for Brody. And there you have it, man. You have Bones Highland going off the bench, Clippers rolling, and they're 2-1, Spurs 1-2. What you think about this one?
Not even a game, man. Not even a game. I mean, you could just look at the box score for this one. You got Norman Powell with 13 points, shooting 5 of 11 from the field. Kenyon Martin Jr. getting 10.46 from the. It was just a clinic that the Clippers put on. So not really much to take away from this game. I mean, the Spurs are a young team. Well, what do you expect for them to go out there and do?
Yeah.
Like they're just trying to figure out their way. They got a nice young prospect in Wemby. They're just trying to keep him healthy, have him develop. Spurs, we talked to Noah. It's development season, all right?
Yeah.
Not a lot to expect over there. Just development season.
Yeah. No question about it, man. No question about it. So just lessons learned for the young Spurs team. And with the Clippers, look, this team always has potential in the West. Health is going to be one of the biggest factors. We'll see what happens. Do they go out and get James Harden? But when you talk about the star power, when you talk about depth, when you talk about closers, size, 3-point, like they have it. They have a lot of it. So we'll see again how they get through this 82-game gauntlet, man. And for the Spurs, obviously it's Wembanyama. How he plays against, again, a team like the Clippers that has size, that's a more physical team. That's where you see where these much taller, lankier players like Chet, just like what Jokic said with Chet, he's got to get fatter. Porzingis had that same issue, like where their lower body's not strong enough yet. They can't push around the Zubaks and some of the bigger players that they come up against. So, this was a good test for him, and just in terms of playing up against bigger teams. And so you could see from a barometer, from a litmus test standpoint, just how far he has to go to be able to kind of handle some of the bigger players around the league. And then also for the Spurs, I think the point guard situation is very interesting. They're going with Jeremy Sohan in that point guard experiment. Pop going there. I want to see how that continues to transform, but see how that works out, man. They went with many years ago when Pop had Boris Diaw. He kind of had him sometimes in that point forward role.
Yep.
For the Spurs. So this is not out of the ordinary for Greg Popovich if he feels like a player like a Sohan has the skill sets to be able to play that role. And then defensively, obviously, look how much length and wingspan and athleticism you're continuing to add to your defense, because you look at this thing last night, and with Sohan out there, there's nobody shorter than 6'5" on the court. You have Sohan, you have Zach Collins, you have Wemby, you have Devin Vassell. That should be nightmares if this team, as this team gels and gets mature and gets older. That could be a problem, especially on the defensive end.
It should be, but just because you also have wingspan and height doesn't necessarily mean it's all wins. I mean, the talent's got to be there, the execution has to be there, and that's where you see, these are still young guys trying to figure their way in this league. I mean, even Devin Vassell, man, he was your highest score for last night, but he's still trying to figure his way in this league too, right? And still figure out like where he needs to take over and stuff like that. He just got that contract extension. Same thing for Wemby. He's just got into the league, so he's got to figure out that system too. It's a work in progress, man. It's a work in progress. Who knows? Maybe they go back to Trey Jones just to have a more organized offense. But the experiment will continue to go on. But since you brought up wingspan and height, I'm sure the next game we talk about, considering it's about our own team, talk about all about wingspan and height.
Yeah. And that is the New York Knicks and the New Orleans Pelicans, man. You got Knicks visiting the Pelicans coming off of a win the night before on against the Hawks. You have the draft storylines. Zion Williamson, the number 1 pick, versus his former Duke teammate R.J. Barrett, the number 3 pick. Zion, just his 3rd matchup against the New York Knicks since these guys have been drafted now in their year 5. But this one was all Pelicans, man. This Knicks team looked like they were sleepwalking out the gates. Didn't seem like they were prepared to play on the second night of a back-to-back. And between Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson, they just toyed with the Knicks all night. Zion just overpowering, making Julius Randle look real small out there, dominated. 18 turnovers for the Knicks, man. Couldn't get right, couldn't shoot the ball into the ocean, and couldn't take care of the ball, man. That's a recipe for disaster. And on top of that, you have another lackluster shooting night for both Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson. It's a tall order for the New York Knicks if those things occur. So Pelicans were able to win this one fairly easy. And for the Knicks, man, are you concerned?
No, it's still early in the season, man. We're talking about 3 games into the season. I'm not concerned. You just need Randall and Brunson to shake off that rust and get back into a rhythm. That's what it is. It's hard to rely on all your role players to show up every single night. If anything, as we discussed on Knicks Fan TV, and if you check out this channel, you should go check out Knicks Fan TV. It's been a good showing from R.J. Barrett to start off the season. He's been the most consistent scorer to start the season. It's very encouraging. So out of everything that we've seen from this team so far, the fact that RJ was able to go against a team like the Pelicans, who have that height and wingspan, and still get his, I like what I'm seeing from RJ, especially when he's attempting mid-range jumpers as well and trying to add a little bit more variety in his game. So out of that, that's the only thing I could really take away from this game so far. We're only 3 games in. I think for any team right now, there's not really a lot of concern that you should have, unless unless you're seeing like complete disasters, or like things are just going
or just injuries
things are not supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe you're concerned, like if you're the Lakers, for how your team's starting, maybe like that's the only team I could really think of right now. Or if you're Chicago, maybe you're concerned because yet again, where are you going? You're 1-2 to start the season. Last year wasn't so great. You were a playing team. Lonzo's still hurt. So maybe you're concerned in the fact of what's the direction of that team moving forward. But for the most part, for most of these teams, they shouldn't be concerned at all. But the one thing I will say from this game is that the Pelicans look legit. All right. With Zion playing healthy, that team looks legit. That guy gets to the rim. He's unstoppable. Absolutely unstoppable. Freight train. Absolute freight train.
He's a freight train, and then on some of his other drives, he just has the finesse to just finish so well
Insane.
at the hoop, man. It's
Absolutely
not always dunking,
insane.
man. I mean, this guy's just gliding in the hoop, but he has so much power combined. You just want to see them fully healthy and at full strength. And I want to see this team play an entire season as a unit. I want to see Zion get through this entire season, man, and get into the postseason so we can really see what this team is capable of, with the scores that they have, with the size that they have, with the wing defenders that they have under Willie Green's coaching. I want to see what this team is looking like at full strength, man. Right now, there's no Trey Murphy. He's coming back off the meniscus. And then you have like guys like Alvarado's off the bench. So let's see how this team looks as they continue to progress throughout the regular season. I just really want to see this team at full strength, man. Zion, Ingram, McCollum, Murphy, Jones. I want to see these guys at full strength to see what they can do. For the Knicks, not worried. Very early. Randall and Brunson just have to pick it up. Their bench is going to be a question mark. We'll see how they continue to pick it up. But I love how R.J. Barrett is playing so far. His game is certainly, is it evolving? It's hard to say. We'll see what happens tomorrow, as I say with him. But it's encouraging. It's encouraging. Very strong in his attacks, making great decisions off the bounce, shooting a bit more out of the mid-range, playing very smart, and setting his teammates up, impacting basketball. That's what I want to see from R.J. Barrett. If the shot is not falling, continue to look for ways to impact the game. He's playing good defense. He's playmaking. He's getting to the free throw line. Those are ways that you can continue to impact the game if your shot's not falling. So I love it through 3 games how he's looking. And we'll see what happens when the Knicks take on the Cleveland Cavaliers on Tuesday, prime time on TNT.
Absolutely. And the last thing I'll say, about that. Or not the last thing I'll say. The last thing I want to ask you about this. How
Mhm.
many games do you need to see before you believe in RJ has really turned a corner?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
2 consistent years is what you're asking.
2 consistent years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it can't just be like one good season and it's like, all right, 2 consistent years.
I need 2.
Okay.
I
You
need
heard
2.
that, RJ.
I need 2 to know it's real. That's fair, right?
Absolutely fair.
I need 2. What do you guys think in the chat? I need 2. 2 years at this level of play.
CP says none of this one and done stuff. I need multiple years.
Yeah.
Before I'm a full-on believer.
Yeah, 2 years. That's it, man. 2 years. Salento says, I agree. Yeah, 2 years. But so far, so good. So far, so good. So let's see what the Knicks do at 1-2 as they take on the Cleveland Cavaliers on Tuesday. Next up, Al, we got to talk about Cooper Flagg. The wait is over.
The main
decision has been made. And Cooper Flagg, courtesy of Slam Magazine, has committed to the Duke Blue Devils. We just talked about RJ Barrett. We talked about Zion. It's only right that we talk about Cooper Flagg, man. So, not so surprising. But for Duke, their biggest recruit under the post-Krzyzewski regime.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll do his 1 year at Duke and then be the number 1 pick in the 2025 draft. So there that is.
I mean, I haven't seen a lot of Cooper Flagg play, but the stuff that I have seen him play, man, this kid looks incredible.
Looks like a man amongst boys, like Zion did.
Yeah, absolutely. Like his shot creation is just insane, and especially his handle for his height, because I think he's like 6'8". Crazy, absolutely crazy. I can't wait to see, it's like with Zion too. It's like, okay, we see him against high schoolers. What is it going to be like at the college level? Okay, but what is it going to be like at the NBA level, right? Like this it can't keep going on like this, right? And then if he could do this at the NBA, it's going to be insane. Whoever gets him then is going to be the luckiest player. Yeah, and that's why the Knicks should be ready to do anything at all.
Is this the wing that the Knicks have been looking for? The Cooper Flagg era.
Hey, man, look, New York isn't too far from Maine. I'm just saying.
Nah, he's gonna look great in teal and purple Charlotte Hornet colors.
Oh, brother.
It'll be the Flagg and LaMelo and Brandon Miller show, and whoever else they get in the next draft.
He could totally learn from Gordon Hayward.
He could totally learn from Gordon. Hey, they kind of look alike, man. He kind of looks like a young Gordon Hayward. So there that is. Cooper Flagg going to Duke. The rich get richer. And good luck to him. But we'll see him at the next level very, very soon. And then just dropped fresh off the press around the NBA, Al, the in-season tournament courts been revealed. And people, NBA fans around the world are barfing with excitement because this thing has not been well received whatsoever, man. These things have not been well received. The in-season tournament, which starts pool play, starts this Friday, November 3rd. In-season tournament pool play starts, and the NBA is adding a little pizzazz to it, man. They're adding a little pizzazz. Every team will have a custom court with colors that's primarily the team colors. It's got the in-season tournament trophy positioned in the paint and at center court. Remember in the finals that they had the trophy in the mid court in the finals, and they decided to take it away. Fans wanted that back. A lot of fans liked the Larry O'Brien painting at center court during the NBA finals. So with the in-season tournament, they have it now. And yeah, what do you think, man? Custom joints. What do you think about that, man?
Some of them are nice. Unfortunately, I gotta give credit to the team right here, the Brooklyn Nets that's on there. But like some of them are nice. Boston's okay. Like I think it all depends on the color, right? I like the trophy placement. I think just having one full color could be okay depending on what the color is, but it's okay, man. I think some of them are okay. For me, asking a Knicks fan, the one the Knicks have is just god awful. Like, good lord, no one needs to see an orange court. Like, come on now.
Yeah,
it's just too bright. But I like the thought of doing something different for the in-season tournament. I think it's okay. I think it'd been done a little bit better.
So according to Zach Lowe of ESPN, Christopher Arena, the NBA's head of on-court and brand partnerships, after deliberations between other senior officials, when they were looking through different templates, they decided they want to go bold. They want to go big. They want to go bold. So they
certainly did that.
They wanted to paint the court with the primary color of the team so that it can stand out a bit. I'll say, I think it is bold. It is big, but I think it's needed. I think it is needed. I'm going to give this a chance. I'm going to go.
Oh, wow. CP
I'm going to go the other way. Yeah,
wow.
I'm going the other way. And I'm saying I like these courts. I like these courts because with this in-season tournament and the way they keep trying to align this or liken this to what they do in European soccer or soccer in most of the other countries, right, through the different leagues. I like this because you can't have the same effect as the soccer teams do. So a Knicks versus Wizards game on November 24th, just because you say, oh, by the way, this is Group B play for tonight, it doesn't add anything to it. So you want something that's going to completely separate yourself from the regular season to make this thing special. So you add the on-court thing. We'll see how well they can shoot around on this thing because the Knicks are going to be shooting on this bright orange court. We'll see how well that works. But you add in the jerseys, you add in the custom court, you have all the marketing behind it, you push your merch out. Now this becomes a separate event so that you can distinguish Hornets versus Bulls on a random night that nobody cares about to this is in-season tournament, this is special, this is important. I think it's good. It's another solid marketing idea by the NBA. I'm on board with it, man.
Wow. This is not something I was expecting from you. Not something I was expecting from you at all today. I thought you were going to be on your lawn saying, get off my lawn. I thought that was going to be you today.
Nah, I told you, man. Even though I don't think this thing's a good idea, I'm waiting to be sold. I'm available to be sold.
See, that's the difference. This is the difference between you and me. I actually like the idea of the in-season tournament. You're liking the marketing scheme behind it. I think
I love it. Yeah,
the marketing you totally need it. I totally agree. You got to make this thing different to just get everyone hyped, so that way you can be like, it's his own thing. 1000% agree. But you're look at this. Go get the Portland Trailblazers on all red. That's nasty.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy.
Okay, hold on.
I really wonder how they're gonna does it impact how they play? I really wonder that though.
Bro, you're telling me that the Knicks are gonna be playing on orange court with orange hoops and they're gonna be able to tell the difference? God forbid we bring back the orange jerseys that we never won in with Melo and Stat.
You're gonna blind people in the rafters.
Blind everybody.
You're gonna blind people up at Chase Bridge. Yeah.
But the one that looks gross. And if we could scroll up to the Pelicans one.
Oh my God.
That is just god awful. You're telling me we're gonna have purple and then a striped neon green? That's nasty work. Yeah, absolute nasty work. So this is what I'm saying. Like the idea of creating, there it is. There's the lovely purple court that what are we going to even see? I don't even know what jerseys are you wearing with this? Like, you have to stand out. You have to be different from what the court is. Like, I like the idea, as you said, for the marketing purposes, but just like you got to be bold, but a little bit more creative than this, man.
Yeah.
Like, good Lord.
It's interesting. I just like the idea of making in trying in many ways to make this special. You have to, because this isn't Inter Milan versus Manchester United. Like, that's not it. This is Knicks versus Bucks, a game that these two teams play 3 to 4 times a year. You have to make it so that if you want this thing to indeed stand out, you got to make it such in the aesthetics and everything. I'm on board.
The Milwaukee one looks nice. I like that one.
Yeah, I think the Bucks one looks nice. I like the Kings one.
Yep.
I like the Celtics one.
Celtics one's nice too.
I like the Grizzlies one. I'm gonna
Hold on, we'll get the Lakers. Come on, man. Can we please go to the Lakers?
OD, bro. No.
Good Lord.
Yo, I want to see what the collective.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Can you imagine the Lakers in their yellow jerseys on this court?
Bro, I want to see what the collective shooting percentages league-wide are going to be when the tournament is over. I want to see what that looks like, because this could have the same impact as when they tried to change the ball. You remember that when they tried to change the ball a couple years ago, like 10 years ago?
Oh, my God.
And the players are like, yo, what is this? This could have the same impact. You could have players not knowing where the three-point line is at. Like, yo, critical plays. We need a 3 to win the game. And the guy shoots a 2 because he didn't know where the line was.
Or is it the ref? Is it the ref that can't see the out-of-bound line?
Right.
Wait, was he out of bounds? I have no idea. I can't tell
Guys
anything.
going to be stepping out of bounds, passing to people they don't even know that's on the team.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Hold on. What? Indy.
I kind of like this. Yeah.
I don't know if that's Indy or if I'm looking at the Bahamas flag right now. Like, what's going on here?
Where did the teal come from? Maybe this is an homage to Buddy Hield. I don't know. I'm reaching.
That's what I'm saying, man. Is it the Bahamas?
Yeah, I'm reaching heavy on that one. More from Zach Lowe on this one, though, that I thought was interesting. He said that. Hang on one second. So to everybody in the chat, hit that thumbs up on the feed, boys. Let's see here. There's a lot here in the Zach Lowe article. Let me get to the Knicks. He had some interesting things here.
We have Gambit.
He said the league went back and forth with at least 2 teams on colors, according to Arena and the other league officials. In debating several proposals, the New York Knicks asked the league if they could use a grayish shade instead of orange for the majority of the court. But the league stressed the importance of sticking with the team's core colors, in this case, an orange court. So it looks like the Knicks wasn't really on board with this one. The league was like, nah, we're going with it. Let's see. For the Sacramento Kings, the league initially suggested a majority red court to echo elements of the team's city edition look this season. The team pushed back, pointing out that red was a minor part of its overall palette. And so they went with the gray and put a little red in there. So very.
Tell me the city, because you said the city edition of jersey, right? For the Kings.
Yeah.
Are the city edition jerseys going to be played on this? That's
absolutely. Yeah, have to. Because look, have to. These are all city edition logos. So this is what I mean. Like everything is going to come hand in hand. Everything's going to go hand in hand. So now they have a reason to put out the city jerseys. These are going to be our special in-season tournament joints.
Oh, now I'm just thinking about the Knicks jerseys on this court.
Yeah, it is going to look crazy. But you know what? I got to give it a chance. Let me see what it looks like in person, because originally, like that Knicks orange and black one, it was a little interesting. It did look kind of Halloweenish, but I did like it, though.
Hornets one looks nice. I like that.
Hornets one looks cool. Hornets one does look cool.
Yeah. That's the Bulls?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
That's interesting. Okay. Yeah. See, Cleveland looks just like a regular basketball court to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
What else we have here? It says at the Praetors, I think they were doing the courts at 3 different facilities. League stressed that the template was essentially non-negotiable, but gave teams input into the color choices. That process took another week or 2. Meanwhile, the league found courts and readied its refinishing and painting partners. Some are used college courts. 2 teams, the Indiana Pacers and Suns, repainted the floors used by their WNBA teams. All 29 are sourced from only 3 companies that manufacture NBA courts: Horner Sports Flooring, Robin Sports Surfaces, and Connor Sports. At Prater's flooring facility in Roseville, Georgia, crews sped up pre-existing finishing and painting jobs to clear as many of its 10-floor slots as possible for the NBA's incoming mega project. Praetors ended up painting and refinishing 11 of the 29 in-season courts, and with 10 slots, and with those 10 slots could handle several courts at once. Big process, big project. Said Prater had a crew of 25 to 30 people working at least 6 days a week on the 11 courts. Repainting can take 2 weeks. Company compressed that to about a week per court. Each court Each court requires 50 gallons of paint. The company requires paint from a supplier, blah, 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 blah. 2 courts are still unfinished, but all 29 are on track for their unveilings. Wow. Big production now.
Big production.
Big production, man. All right, so let's see what happens, man. I'm going to be looking forward to it. Definitely going to be looking forward to it, man. So
we have Gamba in the chat who loves the Pelicans court.
I can't stand it. Like he goes, give me that green and purple court again. Can't stand it, man. But anyway, good show, my guy. Excellent show. Great show by producer Daniel. Great show by producer Gamba. Great show by Tyler, our production assistant, man. Salute to the team. Salute to everybody in the chat. Remember that this show is available in audio podcast format. No reason to miss it. You can catch us on all the major podcast platforms. And we'll be back Wednesday, man, 3 p.m. Eastern time. The #1 show for the fans, by the fans. CP and Alex, the NBA Report. Holla at your boys, man. We out of here.